Hey, gals, guys, or otherwise, this is Rich, and I'm coming to you with another Christo-Paganism Sunday. This week we are talking about Epiphany, and I kind of wanted to do this because later in this week is the celebration of Epiphany. Most pagan practitioners do not celebrate this holiday since it is a predominantly Christian holiday. As Christo-Pagans, I think that we can celebrate this holiday. I don't think it's uh, at all inappropriate to celebrate it, since it is part of who we are and what we practice. And I also love what it symbolizes. I haven't really celebrated this day in the past. It wasn't a big part of my my church growing up. It wasn't a big part of my practice. But after the research that I've done, I kind of want to make it part of my practice, um, especially some of the ways that it can be celebrated. So let's start with the first things first. Epiphany is a celebration of the birth of Christ and the arrival of the Magi to the newborn Christ, all of Jesus' childhood events up to including the baptism of Jesus and his first miracle at the wedding. Depending on the tradition of the celebration, it may be focused on the Magi or on the baptism. In either case, the manifestation, uh, the focus is of the manifestation of Christ in the world. The date can also change depending on the tradition, but for most, it will be celebrated on January 6th. It depends on what part of the world you're in, and what tradition the church does. So different timelines there, or different dates there. So do keep that in mind. I like to think of it as January 6th because that just makes sense to me. And it is predominantly the Western Christian tradition, I believe. If I have that correct in my brain. Uh, so most likely, if you're in the United States, in the UK, and whatnot, you're going to see January 6th as Three Kings Day or Epiphany. Since the Magi are usually the more focused part of this holiday and are kind of underrepresented in their importance overall, I kind of want to cover uh, them in particular, not necessarily the baptism, the wedding, the childhood of Jesus in this video. Maybe in a future video I'll cover those as well. In fact, I'm probably going to. So, and I'm looking down at my notes. And then we'll get on to some ways that we can celebrate this day. First thing I want to acknowledge is that the only mention that we have of the Magi is mentioned in the book of Matthew. This book states that they came from the east to worship the king of the Jews. Even though they are thought to be kings, this is most likely false. This goes back to the early readers' misinterpretation of Matthew. To align with the Old Testament prophecies, we don't know how many there were, and many interpret the number as 3 due to the gifts that they brought, which I will talk about here in a minute. But we don't even know their names, so unfortunately there's not a lot that we can decipher about who these Magi were. So given what we don't know, what do we know? Since they were called Magi, they were most likely Zoroastrian priests. As priests of this religion, they would have paid particular attention to the stars and astrology, stating that they came from the east backs up this analysis as well. And we are told that they brought gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which leads to the usual identification of them being 3 people, one gift for each of them. Most likely there were more. There could have even only been 1, 2, and this could have still been true. Most likely there was at least 2 or more. So, and just to mention that these gifts would have been fitting for a king. Frankincense has been used in many religious practices. the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, all used frankincense. Like everybody uses it. So much so that it has actually become endangered. Gold, as you can imagine, with the Egyptians, the Romans, Greeks, all of them, gold is highly valued, and myrrh was also another one that was highly valued, just like frankincense. So, moving on from that. At the end of the day, there's much that we will never know about the Magi. One thing that we can admire is the sacrifice of these individuals to bear witness to a figure that they found worthy of not only with their physical gifts, but also possibly their lives. They made this journey to see the birth of a new spirituality. And even though we don't have any solid records of what happened after they left, I can't imagine their lives weren't changed. And, it's one of those things where, you are witnessing the budding of a new religion, something that, hasn't really been thought of, or has been thought of in the Jewish tradition, that somebody is going to come to save us all and everything. And you're coming and you bear witness to this, and it's quite significant of an event. And I kind of admire them for taking the long trek that it must have taken to come from the east to what would have been less east, not really making the trek all the way to the Western world over here in the States, but still a hell of a trek. And I do give them props for that. Um, you know, they kind of put their lives on the line for this, and they did it all while bringing gifts to boot. I mean, this is significant. There are many ways that we can celebrate this day. Many of these traditions, I couldn't find necessarily reasonings for them or how they are connected to the Magi, but some of these traditions seem like fun, so I kind of wanted to mention them. So, and I have like 3 pages of notes here. So one thing is removing Christmas decorations. It's said that you need to remove your decorations on Epiphany, or else leave them up until Candlemas. So here we have a blending of traditions here. Either you take them down on January 6th, or you leave them up until February 2nd. Me, I'm not a big Christmas, decoration fan. So yeah, that stuff comes down as quickly as possible. Not doing this is supposed to be like bad luck and this and that. So yeah, let's just take down the decorations on Epiphany. It's okay. Another way is to attend church. Common thing. This may be something that many Christo-Pagans aren't comfortable doing, depending on the church in your local area or in the current environment of quarantine or COVID-19. This might not be something that's possible for you, or may impose a danger on you, or on others. So do it at your own risk and do it at your own health. If you do feel comfortable attending a service, then attend a service. There's many of them out there on, via the internet and whatnot. So that's always an option. Another one is winter swimming, and I find this one fun. I have no connection to why this is part of the Epiphany celebrations. One that it may be because of, I will get to here in a little bit, but I didn't find a direct correlation as to why. So I just want to say on this one that I do want to take the polar bear plunge one year. So if this is a day that, or if this is a day that you want to celebrate, and this is something you want to do to celebrate um, by taking this polar bear plunge, then, go ahead, do it. Another one is singing, and this is a common act for just about any holiday out there. So you can always sing. I haven't found any necessarily specific Epiphany type of songs that would be sung. If you know of any, go ahead and put them in the comments below. Always much appreciated. And, maybe you can come up with your own. Maybe you can just do a chant or something like that. Another one is blessing of water. This one I think might be connected to the winter swimming part. And I have my notes here. This is commonly done for baptismal fonts or local waterways. When done in waterways, there are some traditions where a cross is thrown in the water and the attendants swim to retrieve it. The victor receives a blessing along with their family receiving a blessing as well. So basically, the priest throws a cross into the water and people swim to get it. Not exactly something that I would do, but I would actually like to kind of see that. I think it's interesting. So if that's something that you want to do, or maybe you just want to bless the waters around your house, maybe making some holy water or something like that. That is certainly something that you can do. And that is not only relegated to Epiphany, but can be done any time of the year. But this date specific, they mention baptismal fonts. So getting the water ready for the New Year's of baptisms. Number 6, Three Kings cake. Food is always a part of celebrations, or a common part in celebrations. If you want to make a Three Kings cake, there are plenty of recipes out there. I think we've all gotten a little better at our baking skills during quarantine, so yeah, go ahead and look those up. And if you have, if you have any recipes in particular, let me know about them. Number 7 is blessings of the home, and I wanted to save this one for the last one because I think it may be the most important. As Christo-Pagans, we're not ignorant to how important blessing and protection is for the home. These blessings can be done with the Epiphany water from the blessed local waterways, or by chalking. And I found this one particularly interesting. So chalking is a method of marking a blessing on your door with chalk. Sometimes people elect to use blessed chalk, but this is up to the individual. You can bless your own chalk if that's really something that you would like to do. In fact, I may actually post on Christo-Paganism.com a ritual for blessing chalk, or a simple chalk blessing. So anyway, moving on from that, one of the blessings you can write by using the first 2 digits of the year and alternating across on either side of the letters CMB, and then the last 2 digits. Okay, so I'm gonna put on the screen here what that would actually look like. As Christo-Pagans, we often meld our practice, together from those that we borrow outside of our practice, because this is not a tradition that is, overly represented. So we borrow from Christianity, we borrow from paganism, we borrow from other religions, and I'm okay with blending my practice from other traditions. So if you were to blend the tradition of chalking the doorway, I would actually suggest making your own sigils. maybe you put in the long form, the 20, cross C, cross M, cross B, cross 21. Maybe you do that. Maybe instead of crosses, you put your own sigil. Maybe on either side, instead of leaving those blank, on the side of the 20 and on the side of the 21, you put a sigil on each side of those. You can do that. At the end of the day, it's up to you. You can make your own sigil and skip out on the rest entirely. You can keep the "May Christ bless this house" petition as you draw it on there. You can do that. There's different ways to do that, and if you have a way that you're doing it this year, let me know. Leave a comment. This year, I'm actually taking part from the Jewish tradition of a mezuzah. I'm going to put a mezuzah on my door. At the entryway of the home, I'm putting that, and I have to find out where I put that. I have a couple of them laying around. I have one specifically that I've been saving to use, but I think the other one I might want to use a little bit more because it's a little bit more hardy. It's I think the one that I have in the garage is a metal one, and I kind of want to use that one. And the other one I have is ceramic. Excuse me. A little caramel cappuccino. So I'm kind of torn which one I want to use. So since this is the first time that I'm using a mezuzah or putting the mezuzah up, there will be prayers involved and certain ritual aspects that I'm going to go ahead and keep in mind when putting this up. Some of this is going to be altered for me since I am a Christo-Pagan, but other parts of the tradition are going to be kept. Now, traditionally, the petition that is inside a mezuzah will have a certain verse written on it, on a piece of parchment, and it's only checked twice every 7 years. So since I'm adapting this practice and making it my own, I'm going to come up with my own petition, my own protection, my own spell working that is going to be rolled up and placed inside the mezuzah, and I'm going to refresh that every year. That's just going to be my little thing of, hey, I'm refreshing the petition, I'm refreshing the protections on this house, and January 6th is going to be the anniversary date of when I do that. So yes, that's going to be something that's going to be taking place here. Now, I will also be touching the mezuzah each time I leave the house in order to empower it for keeping the spell work fed and giving it more energy. So that's something that's going to end up happening in my day-to-day practices, touching that mezuzah either whenever I'm coming home or when I'm leaving, just lending a little bit of energy and empowering that protection charm that is being created to protect the home and those who reside in it, including little Miss Jellybean over here that is laying right next to the desk. So I'm gonna put in a little extra footage that I caught earlier. It's so much fun. Anyway, so that's how I'm going to be celebrating it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I've never tried this before, and I'm really into it for this year. I think this is a wonderful celebration. If you have celebrated Epiphany in the past as a Christo-Pagan or as a Christian or as a pagan, do let me know by leaving a comment below. And, if you are celebrating it this year, how are you celebrating? What are you doing? Are you doing anything that's been mentioned on this list? Are you coming up with your own tradition? I'd love to know. So go ahead and leave me a comment below and stand by for that little footage of Jelly earlier. It was so cute. But I'm going to sign off here. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye. Jelly. Right here. Right here. On the mic. On the mic. Right here. See it? There's a good girl. There's a good girl.